You once believed that family would always be fair, always there when you needed them. But one day, you uncovered a painful truth. The $2,800 you sent to cover your dad's medical bills had been turned into a luxury cruise for everyone else, and of course, your name was missing. Suddenly, the pieces of memory aligned. The vacations you were told you were too busy for, the gatherings you were unavailable to attend, all carefully arranged to leave you out. That night, as the door closed behind you, you realized it was time to rise and rewrite your own story. And if you'd like to stay with this journey, a gentle like and subscribe is enough to make sure you won't miss what comes next. You return to your apartment in the Phoenix night, the heat of the day still lingering. The door clicks shut behind you, and the silence that fills the room presses down, heavy and suffocating. You drop your bag onto the couch and sink to the floor, surrounded by photo albums and dusty boxes of memories pulled from the back of your closet. The dim lamp casts a yellow glow over every page, every scrap of paper, every reminder of the story you've been telling yourself for years. The first album falls open. Christmas 2018. Harper beams with a brand new MacBook. Cody grins over the keys to his very first car, used, but still worth thousands. And you're holding up a scarf from Target, the $19.99 price tag still dangling from the corner. In the photo, your smile looks convincing, but staring at it now, all you see is how forced it was. Back then, you told yourself, maybe they can't afford more. Don't blame them. But tonight, the truth is undeniable. Money was never the problem. You simply weren't the priority. Page after page, the same pattern emerges. Yellowstone. Sorry, Rain, someone needs to water the plants. Disney World. Your internship is that week, remember? Close quote. Napa Valley. You wouldn't enjoy it anyway, honey. Back then, each excuse sounded reasonable. Now, they echo like rehearsed lines crafted only to keep you out. Your phone buzzes. A message from Mom lights up the screen. We need to talk about this misunderstanding. You laugh bitterly. A misunderstanding? How could you misunderstand cruise tickets with everyone's name except your own? Pulling your laptop closer, you open your budget spreadsheet. Cold numbers flash across the screen, slicing open old wounds. $350 in April. Dad's insulin. $1,400 in June. A hospital co-pay. $800 in August. Mom's car repairs. And the hardest one, $2,800 last month, labeled Family Emergency Fund. You saved that money for a Lake Tahoe trip, scrimping by taking freelance projects, skipping lunches, and working weekends. But when they called, you cancelled your plans without a second thought. Tonight, you realize the cruel irony. While you were sacrificing, they were packing their bags for a cruise you were never meant to join. Memories rise, uninvited. You were 7 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, watching Harper practice scales with her vocal coach. Can I take piano lessons too? Close quote. You asked. Mom shook her head. We can't afford lessons for 2 kids, Rain. Maybe next year. Next year never came. Yet 6 months later, Cody started guitar lessons. At 13, you sobbed over missing your class science trip to the Oregon coast. $400 is just too much, close quote, Dad said, patting your shoulder. 3 weeks later, he surprised Cody with a father-son camping trip that cost twice as much. In college, you worked 3 jobs to cover rent and tuition, while Harper's car insurance and Cody's rent were quietly paid. Whenever you dared to question it, Mom had the same refrain. You're so independent, honey. We know you can handle it. Independent or simply abandoned. Your phone rings. Harper this time. Against your better judgment, you answer. Her voice is too smooth, as if rehearsed. Rain, this is ridiculous. You've made Mom cry. We meant to invite you, but Mom said you'd understand. You always do. Those 3 words slice deeper than anything. You always do. For years, you carried that role, the one who always understood, always adjusted, always sacrificed. But not anymore. You whisper back, not anymore, close quote, and hang up, your hand shaking, but your resolve steady. From the closet, you pull down a small box. Inside lies a shrink-wrapped jewelry-making kit, the very one you begged for on your 9th birthday. Mom had said it was too expensive, only to buy Harper her 3rd American Girl doll the following week. Last year, you bought the kit yourself on Etsy for $35. You've kept it sealed, a quiet monument to every dream denied, every maybe next year that never came. Another buzz. Cody this time. This is BS. We've always included you. Stop being dramatic. A second message follows. Fine, how much do you want to let this go? Close quote. Your fingers tighten around the phone before you set it face down on the table. In their eyes, everything has a price, even your silence, even your dignity. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, you see Melissa, your best friend from college, holding a bottle of wine in takeout bags. You open the door, and she steps in without a word, wrapping you in a hug that nearly unravels you. Figured you might need reinforcements, close quote, she says. You try for humor. Just found out my family's been excluding me for my entire life. Nothing major. Melissa pulls back, eyes sharp with honesty. About time you saw it. Rain, I've watched you break your back for them year after year. Last Christmas, you spent a month's salary on gifts, and they gave you socks. They call you for money, babysitting, favors, but when was the last time they showed up for you? Close quote. Her words hang heavy in the air. There's no answer you can give. You think of the scarf, the cancelled trips, the independence you never asked for. The truth sits bare in front of you, undeniable. You look again at the photos and the spreadsheets, then at Melissa's steady gaze. For the first time, the fog lifts. You see it all clearly now. You were never their equal, never the cherished daughter, never the sibling they celebrated. You were the fallback plan, the safety net, the bank. A deep breath fills your lungs, steadier than any in years. You realize you've reached a turning point. You will no longer understand on their terms. You will no longer stay silent for their comfort. The life ahead may be uncertain, but it will be yours, defined by your boundaries, your choices, your dignity. And if anyone listening has ever felt like the outsider in their own family, know this. You're not alone. Stay with this journey. A gentle like or subscribe, nothing heavy, will be enough to walk together into the next chapter, where every boundary drawn is a promise to yourself that you deserve respect. That night, after Melissa left, the apartment fell into silence once more. But it wasn't the hollow, suffocating silence from a few hours earlier. Her words lingered in the air like a ringing bell. They call you when they need money, when they need support, but when was the last time they ever showed up for you? Close quote. You searched your memory, yet no answer came. Because the truth was clear. It had never happened. The next morning, you sat at your desk in the office, your mind scattered while papers blurred before your eyes. James, a trusted colleague, placed a coffee on your desk. He lowered his voice. My parents played favorites too. It made me think I was the problem. But I wasn't. And neither are you. His quiet words, coupled with his knowing glance, felt like confirmation for the pain you had carried for years. That evening, you returned to Dr. Eleanor Warren's office. After months of therapy, she looked into your eyes and said firmly, what you've experienced isn't small, and you're not exaggerating. This is a repeated pattern. Deliberate exclusion. And you've been taught to blame yourself for it. Tears rolled down your cheeks, not from sadness, but from the strange relief of finally hearing the truth named out loud. Memories came rushing back, sharper than ever. 7 years old, watching Harper take piano lessons while you were told, we can't afford it. 13, crying when you couldn't attend the 8th grade science trip, only to see your father spend double on a camping trip for Cody. College years, working 3 jobs while Harper and Cody had their rent and insurance covered. Those scattered memories suddenly aligned into a chain too undeniable to ignore. You had always been the one left behind. Your phone rang. Harper. Her voice carried the smooth, scripted tone. Rain, Mom has been crying all day. We really meant to invite you, but she said you'd understand. You always do. Those 3 words, you always do, cut deeper than any insult. In that moment, you realized. They had grown comfortable with you being the one who accepted, who sacrificed, who stayed silent. But this time, you weren't the same Rain. You ended the call, hands trembling but eyes steady. Soon after, Cody's texts popped up. This is ridiculous. We've always included you. Stop being dramatic. The next message came bluntly. Fine. How much money do you want to let this go? Close quote. You stared at the screen, a bitter laugh escaping. To them, everything, truth, dignity, your feelings, could be solved with money. You flipped the phone face down and sat quietly. Then you opened your laptop again, scrolling through the expense sheet. Each figure glared back like cold hard evidence. More than $50,000 funneled into your family over the years. This wasn't care, it was systematic exploitation. Later that night, Melissa called. You need to start setting boundaries, Rain. No one has the right to turn you into their ATM or make you invisible in your own family. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're self-respect. Her words sank deep, like seeds finding soil, and you knew she was right. The time had come. You sat at your desk under the soft glow of the lamp, pen pressed against paper. You wrote 3 simple words. No more. That phrase became your anchor. From there, you started forming a plan, changing your phone number, closing shared accounts, cutting off automatic access, and most importantly, learning to say no. For the first time, you felt a strange lightness in your chest, as if an invisible rope had finally snapped. You asked yourself, if one day they stood at your door begging, would you be strong enough to refuse? You didn't yet know. But for the first time, you were preparing yourself. And that preparation was the beginning of freedom. If you've ever felt like the forgotten one in your own family, let my story remind you. You are not alone. And if any part of this touches your heart, consider gently tapping like or subscribe. Not for noise, not for numbers, but simply to walk this journey together, a space where our voices matter and where our stories are heard. In the days that followed, my apartment felt less like a home and more like a barricade, protective yet suffocating. My phone vibrated constantly. First Mom, then Dad, then Harper, then Cody. Some mornings, I'd wake up to 10 texts and 3 missed calls in under an hour. But what hurt me most weren't their direct words, it was how they turned me into the villain in public. On Facebook, Cody wrote a long post dripping with accusation. So people get a little success and suddenly forget their family. So ungrateful. The words sliced like a blade. Not long after, Mom shared the post with a crying emoji and the line, "Can't believe my own child would do this." Dad never posted, but his string of likes beneath Cody's words was enough to expose where he stood. Friends, neighbors, even distant relatives joined in, leaving comments without knowing the truth. I scrolled in silence, each judgmental remark like an invisible stab. Greedy, heartless, betrayal. The words blurred together. And yet, after the initial sting, a strange numbness settled in. I realized something. If I kept reacting as I always had, explaining, apologizing, trying to earn their approval, I would never escape the cycle. My phone rang again. This time, it was Monica. Her voice was urgent. "Natalie, check your email. You need to see this." My pulse quickened as I opened my inbox. A colleague had forwarded a tip. Cody had reached out to one of my competitors, offering insider details about my upcoming campaign. He had tried to leak client lists, strategies, everything I'd worked months to build. My body turned cold. Betrayal within the family was already unbearable, but now it threatened my career, the one thing I had built with my own sweat and sleepless nights. I rushed to my laptop, hands trembling, but mind razor sharp. I changed every password, revoked every access, locked down every file. Data was secured, doors slammed shut before Cody could cause more. The next day, rumors spread through the office. Some colleagues whispered, others stared with thinly veiled curiosity. A few dared to ask what was happening. I issued a short professional statement on the company account. Our focus remains on serving our clients with excellence. Thank you for your trust. Neutral on the surface, but inside, I was burning. My family had taken my money, my trust, and now they wanted to smear my reputation. That night, I sat by the window, city lights flickering like distant stars. For the first time, clarity washed over me. I wasn't just the daughter or the sister anymore, the one expected to sacrifice, to be silent. I was a grown woman, staring down an uncomfortable truth and choosing not to step back. The following day, Cody showed up at my office. Reception texted me a warning, but he was waiting in the parking lot, arms crossed, jaw set. "You can't avoid me forever," close quote, he snapped. I took a steady breath. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm refusing to see you. There's a difference." We argued, his words sharp, accusing me of tearing the family apart, of making Mom sick with worry, of stressing Dad. But when I turned the question back on him, "Do you think hiding an 8-month cruise while taking $2,800 from me was fair?" Close quote, he fell silent. That silence, heavier than any shout, told me everything I needed to know. That evening, I called my phone provider and requested a new number. When the representative asked if it was due to harassment, I simply said, "Family." She replied softly, "Say no more." Within the hour, the new number was active. For the first time in weeks, I placed my phone on the table and didn't dread its vibration. The next morning, I walked into the bank and closed the joint account my parents had shared with me since college. The teller scrolled through transaction history, eyebrows lifting. "All deposits came from you." Close quote, I nodded. The realization sliced, but it also freed me. That night, I sat before my laptop once again. On the screen glowed a confirmation page. 1 round-trip ticket to Barcelona. My heart leapt as I hit confirm. This wasn't just a purchase, it was a declaration. A promise to myself that I would finally live life on my own terms, without shackles, without guilt. And when I smiled, it wasn't forced. It was real. After I changed my phone number and closed the joint bank account, the atmosphere around me shifted into something strange. The relentless buzzing of calls and messages had stopped, but the pressure returned in another form. They no longer attacked me directly, they sent others to do it for them. First came the distant relatives. One morning, I received a voicemail from Uncle Jerry, a man I saw maybe twice a year at family gatherings. His tone sounded scripted. "Rain, your parents are so worried. You can't just disappear like this. Call them back, don't make this worse." The next day it was Aunt Patricia, then Cousin Megan. All repeating the same lines. "Family comes first. Don't overreact." I listened but didn't reply. I knew those voices weren't their own, they were echoes of my parents. One rainy evening, there was a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw my father's familiar figure, stoop slightly, clutching a paper bag. For a moment, my chest tightened. We hadn't had a real conversation in years, only small talk about health, weather, and requests for money. I hesitated but didn't open the door. After 20 minutes, his car engine started, fading into the night. When I finally stepped outside, the bag was still there. Inside were cookies I had loved as a child, and a card written in my mother's handwriting. "We need to talk. I miss you." I placed it on the table, staring at it for a long time before tucking it away in a drawer. Soon after, Harper sent an email not to me alone, but to a list of mutual friends. It read with a faint worry. "So concerned about Rain. She's acting strange, avoiding family, ignoring calls. Please let us know if you hear from her." My laugh was bitter. They weren't reaching for reconciliation, they were trying to brand me as unstable. I forwarded it to Dr. Eleanor, subject line, "Exhibit C." She replied within the hour. "This is called flying monkeys. They're recruiting others to pressure you. A tactic to preserve their system." On Thursday, Cody appeared at my office parking lot. I tried to slip out the back, but he intercepted me. "You're tearing this family apart," close quote, he snapped. "Mom isn't sleeping, Dad keeps checking his phone, the kids keep asking where Aunt Rain is." I met his glare calmly. "I'm tearing the family apart. Who planned an 8-month cruise while telling me to cancel my own trip because money was tight? Who took my $2,800 for an emergency and used it for luxury?" Close quote. His face flushed. He stammered excuses, but shame flickered in his eyes before he masked it with anger. That night, I sat at my desk and changed every password again, emails, bank accounts, everything. This time, I didn't feel fear. I felt release. Step by step, I was unraveling the invisible ropes that had bound me for years. A week later, an invitation arrived for Harper's anniversary celebration. My reply was simple: unavailable. Soon after came a family picnic invitation for the 4th of July. The answer was the same. I even set up an automatic email response for family messages. "Thank you for reaching out. I am currently unavailable." Just a few lines, but for me, they were a fortress. That night, I booked a ticket to Barcelona. It wasn't just travel, it was a declaration that I had the right to live for myself. When the confirmation page appeared, I smiled. Not the polite smile captured in family photos, but a genuine one that came from deep within. But my family didn't stop. One stormy night, the doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, I saw Mom, drenched, eyes rimmed red. I cracked the door open. Her voice broke into sobs. "We're about to lose the house. Your father's medical bills are too high. Please, help us one last time." Her familiar tone, heavy with expectation, had weakened me so many times before. But now, I simply asked, "If I were the one broke and desperate, would you take me in?" Close quote. Her mouth opened, then closed. Silence answered for her. I nodded and closed the door gently. Days later, I received an invitation to meet at a familiar Italian restaurant. The name alone sent a chill through me. It was the place where we had once gathered with laughter and clinking glasses, celebrating my college graduation. That night had felt like a promise of belonging, as though family ties could overcome every wound. Now, walking toward its glowing sign, I felt the weight of years pressing on my chest. Melissa walked quietly at my side, her hand brushing mine with a steady calm. She didn't need to say anything. Her presence was enough. The air inside was warm, heavy with garlic, basil, and the faint sweetness of wine. The soft murmur of diners surrounded me as I caught sight of them: Dad, Mom, Harper, and Cody, all seated in the same corner booth, as though time had been rewound. But instead of joy, the air felt staged, rehearsed. Harper's eyes flicked to Melissa as we approached, her mouth tightening. Cody leaned forward with a grin too sharp to be kind. My parents both looked at me, stiff-backed, their expressions carefully composed, like actors before a performance. I slid into the seat beside Melissa. She rested her hand firmly on my arm, grounding me. Dad spoke first, his tone formal, detached. "We need to resolve this." Each word carried the weight of command rather than invitation. Harper, her voice laced with disapproval, added, "You should have come alone. This is family business." Cody's voice cut in, harder, more insistent. "The family can't be without you. Let's just move on, put all this behind us." Their voices fell in rhythm, overlapping, as if scripted. They spoke of sacrifices, of braces when I was 12, of a used car they bought me at 18. Each reminder was meant to bind me with guilt, to paint me as ungrateful. It was a chorus rehearsed too many times, a harmony of manipulation dressed as love. I listened without interrupting, the words falling like stones, building a wall between us. Melissa's fingers tightened slightly on my arm, reminding me to hold my ground. When at last their voices faded, I drew in a slow breath and placed a folder on the table. Its weight seemed to echo as it landed. This close quote, I said evenly, is a record of every financial contribution I've made to this family over the last 10 years. The total, $37,842. That includes the $2,800 I gave for Dad's emergency bills the same week you paid for your Alaska cruise. For a moment, no one moved. Mom's hand flew to her chest, her eyes wide. That's not, she began, but I raised my hand sharply. For once, close quote, I cut her off. Let me finish. My voice didn't tremble. For the first time, I held the floor, and silence followed. Even the clink of forks and knives from the other tables seemed distant, as though the world itself leaned closer to listen. I opened the folder wider, spreading out another sheet across the red and white checkered tablecloth. This is a timeline of vacations, holidays, birthdays, and celebrations. Yellow highlights streaked across the paper, marking absence after absence. Nearly half of these dates, I was excluded. I wasn't busy. I wasn't unavailable. I simply wasn't invited. The words hung in the air, raw and undeniable. I reached again into the folder and pulled out a small photograph, an image of a simple jewelry-making kit. And this, close quote, I said, laying it gently on the table, is the $35 kit I begged for when I was 9 years old. Too expensive, you said. I bought it myself last year. My voice cracked slightly, not from weakness, but from the memory of a child's hope dismissed as trivial. Mom's lips trembled, but she said nothing. The restaurant seemed to shrink around us, its lively hum replaced by the heavy silence of truth. Then, with deliberate calm, I laid down one final sheet. These are my terms, close quote, I said. My voice was steady, measured. Family therapy at least 6 sessions. Complete financial independence, no more loans, no more handouts. An acknowledgement of how I've been treated. A genuine apology. And time. I need space. Dad's eyes narrowed, his voice sharp with indignation. You can't dictate terms to your family. His words rang with authority, the same tone that had silenced me 100 times before. But this time, I did not shrink. I met his gaze squarely. This isn't dictating, close quote, I said. It's protecting myself. The finality of those words filled the room. I rose from the booth, Melissa rising with me. Behind us, Mom's muffled sobs began, breaking the stillness. Dad leaned toward her, his voice low, trying to soothe. Harper called my name once, her voice brittle, but she did not rise. Cody said nothing at all. Their figures blurred as I turned away. Outside, the night air was crisp, the sky stretched wide and brilliant with stars. The coolness touched my skin, washing away the heaviness of the restaurant. Melissa's hand found mine again, and I felt a lightness I hadn't known in years. For the first time in so long, the ties that had bound me no longer felt like chains. For the first time, I felt truly free. The following month, as I prepare my very first Thanksgiving in my new home, the aroma of roasted turkey and warm apple pie filled the cozy kitchen. Around the wooden table sat faces I had chosen, friends, colleagues, neighbors, people who entered my life with sincerity rather than demands. We raised our glasses, shared simple stories, and let laughter echo in place of the accusations I once endured. On the bookshelf rested the jewelry-making kit I had longed for at 9 years old. Now opened, it had become a necklace crafted by my own hands. No longer a symbol of what I was denied, it stood as proof of reclaiming my own worth. I find